Okay, here is the overall of the seeds that we're going to be planting. So I want to give a little bird's eye view before we go into detail. And what we don't have in here right now are potatoes, which are on order and have not shipped yet. And my aunt's garlic, which was shipped a week ago, but the post office is retarded. And it's probably not going to get here till middle of next week. So don't get me started on the post office and going from Missouri to here. Okay, first up is our onions and leeks, which came from Dixondale Farms. And Dixondale Farms is a specialty company, and all they do is onion and leek starters. They don't do anything else. And so each of these little bunches here represent about 48 starts. And we ended up with 4 kinds of onions and 1 leek. We've never really had leeks before, so we weren't going to go hog wild with the leeks. We just wanted to see if we could get them to grow here. So the onions that we ended up with is the Cipollone onion. I know it's backwards, but those are the red Creole onions. These over here are the Texas early white onions, and then the Texas super sweet. Now we got 2 bunches of all of these onions, so we're going to end up with about 100 each. One of the reasons why we wanted to have so many onions is our ground is very high in phosphorus, and onions take phosphorus out of the ground. So it can be a win-win situation.
The Texas whites, the early white and the super sweet, they store for 2 to 3 months once cured. The red Creole is 6 to 7, and the
Cipollone
is 5 months for storing.
Okay. Now that's if you don't have like a root cellar or something. That's for like us.
Yes,
which
and
don't
these
have
are
the
all,
capability
and
for
these are
root
all
cellar.
short day, which would be southern growing onions.
Okay, and while we're on the onions, we also, Andre got an oopsie, which is yellow Spanish onions. This actually came from Territorial Seed, which we'll be doing next. And you said those were long day?
They're long day. They're a northern onion meant for if you're in Ohio or Michigan type area. And yeah, it was an oops because we're in the south.
Yeah, so these might or might not grow. We'll just see.
They may be a smaller onion. They're supposed to be a good sized onion, but we'll probably get small onion.
Yeah, where we're going to plant these, we will plant these as close as we can to the tree area so they can have the most amount of shade. So we can actually see if these will actually grow. So that's it for the onions and leeks. And now Territorial is going to be next. Okay, here is our Territorial hull. And these Territorial is known for their heirloom seeds. And they are based out of Oregon. Ironically, as far as the USDA zone chart is concerned, about where Territorial is based in Oregon has about the same zone as us. Even though Oregon's climate's completely different, as far as USDA is concerned with the zone chart, it's the same. So I thought that was a little fun fact. And so what we got here is we have early wonder tall top beets. We got lemon cucumbers. If you don't know anything about lemon cucumbers, even though these show long, lemon cucumbers they're about the size of a baseball, and they're yellow and white, and they have a milder flavor, and they're actually really, really good. So
they're like 1 serving per cucumber.
Yeah, so you could have it 1 serving, and the dogs absolutely love cucumbers, so I have to fight with them when I eat cucumbers. All right, here are 2 of our 4 types of basil we're going to be growing. We got the Mammoth Sweet and a regular sweet. Is it the regular sweet that most people think of basil?
Yes.
Okay. And so the other two basils we have from different companies, so I'll get to those when we get to those companies. This is a Katrina cabbage. This is a smaller cabbage, so it's not going to have a huge, massive head.
4-inch head.
Yeah, so the head will be about the size of a baseball, softball. And we wanted to do the cabbage for two reasons. One, so we could have a little bit of cabbage. And two, the chickens really love cabbage and they can eat all of the cabbage. So we'll be chucking in a bunch of the heads and a bunch of the leaves for the sisters to enjoy themselves with. Then we ended up with a winter squash, which is spaghetti squash, because Andrea likes to cook with spaghetti squash. And then a black beauty zucchini and a cube of butter yellow summer squash, which is
yellow zucchini.
Yeah, basically a yellow zucchini. We ended up with a harder shelled squash. It wasn't a winter squash, it was a summer squash, but the outside was harder and we didn't like it as much. So hopefully that will be about the same consistency as zucchini, so we can cook them the same. And then the other thing we got are the carrots. Now they are Napoli carrots, and this is what they call tape. And so as you can see, the seeds are inside of this paper. The paper is biodegradable. And what you do is you take off all of the strips, like I started right here, and you basically plant it in a line, and the carrots are spaced out perfectly, and then you just cover it up. And so you don't have to deal with spacing like every 2 inches or so like you normally would.
Yeah, you just
with
have to
carrots.
worry about row spacing instead.
Yeah, so you just have to worry about the row spacing. So we're going to try that this year. This is a total of about 45 linear feet of carrots. So whatever 45 is, and I think they're 2-inch spacing times 6, that's what it'll be for the carrots. So this is everything from Territorial Seed. Okay, next up is Johnny's Seeds. Andrea wanted to get a
purple basil.
A purple basil, and Territorial didn't have it, so we got it from Johnny. And so it's called a dark opal purple basil. So that's going to be part of our basil collection. The reason we're growing basil is we were wanting to get into the herb business because the type of farm that we want to do is what they call specialty type farm. And that's where the elephant garlic and all that stuff comes in. Well, basil, out of all the herbs that would be considered a, quote, cash crop, was the only one that fit the bill that we could do almost immediately. So we got a little basil area in the front, and we have a supplemental basil area in case we need it. And so this is the third of our
Johnny's
basil
is
type.
a new seed company that we're trying this year as well.
Yeah, so we've never had Johnny's Seeds, but we've seen a lot of people on YouTube and stuff, and they have high praise for them, so we're going to try them out. Okay, next up is Renes Garden, and these are the different type of lettuces that we're going to grow. Now, since we're in the South, lettuce, you have a plus and minus relationship with it, because once it gets into the summertime, the lettuce just burns out.
Once it gets above 75.
Yeah, and so we have 4 whiskey barrels that we had potatoes in last year. We've moved them and commandeered them, and they're going to be our lettuce now. And then the other thing we're doing, Andrea actually got it yesterday, is deer do not like rosemary. And so in the center of each of the whiskey barrels, we're planting a rosemary so that can deter the deer. Because several years ago, when we had our house down in Merle's Inlet, we had leaf lettuce growing on the ground, and we had oregano in front of it. And the area where we lived had a high deer and high rabbit population. And the deer and the rabbit did not like the oregano so much that they left our lettuce alone. Because we had the oregano in front and we had the lettuce in back. And so we had nothing protecting that lettuce except for the oregano. And nobody believed us until we showed them. And so that was leaf lettuce like this is. So real quick on the different lettuces. Is it Cut and Come Again? Is that the name of it?
Yep.
All right. Then you got Sweet Greens and Red. You got Five Blend. Then you got Baby Leaf. And then Andrea wanted 2 types of arugula.
No, that's the end. This is Heirloom Italian.
Right.
Oh, that is Heirloom Italian, right?
And then that's a Runaway.
Oak Leaf. And
then Heirloom Miscadanza. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that's okay. So that's going to be our lettuce haul for this year. And our lettuce season is going to be short because probably when it gets to be May, maybe even sooner, then the lettuce is going to be done for this year. Okay, next up is Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. The website is called rareseeds.com. And so these are particular varieties. And so we got what is that? Corinthian leek. Yeah. This is a common chive. This is an onion chive, not a garlic chive. My aunt was telling me that onion chives are good, but if you get into the garlic chives, you have to be careful with them because they will escape and then just infest everything. They're invasive, but the onion chives are not. And then broadleaf sage, and then this is safflower.
Our experiment.
Our experiment for safflower. At some point we might get into saffron, I don't know, but safflower would be a good gateway into that. And then Andrea wanted a Mongolian giant sunflower for no other reason. If we can get this to grow, we can throw the heads in there for the chickens and they'll go nuts over it. Then here's our 4th type of basil, which is a lettuce leaf basil. And then we have another type of squash.
It's a white zucchini.
Which is a white zucchini. And then another type of leek, which is an autumn giant. So we have 1 starter of leeks and then 2 leeks from seed.
Yeah, these will probably be more in the fall. So we can start from seeds if we can get the leek starts to grow. That way we don't have to keep buying seeds.
Right. And then they gave us 2 freebies, which is a coral carrot and an old Tokyo Kamesuna.
It's kind of like lettuce.
Yeah, I'm kind of destroying that. But these are the free seeds that we got. So free's always good. And so all of this is from Baker Creek. Okay, this is stuff that we planted last year that we had. The melons, the pumpkins, and the garden beans, which is a bush bean, did not do very well. And the main reason for that is that we think that they got drowned out. Yeah. Because when we had the monsoons in like July and stuff, that whole area where they were last year was underwater.
Melons might have not gotten picked when they were supposed to get picked.
Yeah, cantaloupe, you have a love-hate relationship where we are because you have to pick them when they're almost ready because when they're actually ready, they rot like immediately. So those have a very short window. The year before, in 2022, we actually did have some success with cantaloupe. So we're going to try them again since we already have the seeds. Now, the watermelon, which is a bush sugar baby, these actually grew like weeds last year. We tried to contain them, but the vines just kept growing all over the place. Back behind us in the field, the farmer grew soybeans, and we had watermelon in the soybean area. So the vines escaped and they ended up everywhere. These are very small watermelons, probably about 8 inches in diameter. And so the sisters ended up getting most of them. So we threw them into the chickens. The chickens absolutely loved them. And they would decimate one of these in like less than a day.
Yeah, the last one was harvested the beginning of November.
Yeah, so it was actually last frost, after last frost, when we actually harvested the last one, and Andre just chucked it in there for them. It broke when it hit the ground, and then the chickens went nuts. They will literally eat everything except for the skin itself. And so all we'd have to do is wait about a couple of days and then just go in there and pick the skins up. So we're hoping the watermelon are going to do good this year. Now the watermelon and the cantaloupe and the pumpkins are not going to be in rows for obvious reasons. They're just going to be in areas. And the bush beans will be in rows, but especially the watermelon, there's no way we could have those in rows. Okay, next up is Mountain Rose herbs. Obviously by the company name, these are all going to be herbs of some sort. And so first up is astragalus. Andrea said the astragalus has to be inoculated.
Well, the ground has to be inoculated.
Yeah.
It has to be specially prepared before it can be seeded. We have to do a little more research first.
Yeah, so it has to have its own special stuff in the soil in order for that to grow. So right. We'll figure that out when we go to plant it.
Make sure to do research if you're going to grow that.
Okay, next up, it's called self-heal. I have no idea what that is. Then you have hibiscus, and then meadowsweet. No, I'm not pronouncing the rest of that stuff. Then you have passion flower, skullcap. Skullcap, is that what you use for like a migraine or something?
Skullcap, passion flower, meadowsweet, and hibiscus are in the migraine tea that you make.
Okay. Yeah, there's a migraine tea recipe that somebody gave Andrea several years ago. So whenever I have migraines, because I have sinus migraines, I can make that tea and it helps with the symptoms of the migraine. So evidently that's what all that stuff.
I'm still looking up the fifth thing in it.
Yeah, so it's not that I need it a whole lot, but if we can have the ability to grow all these herbs ourselves, then that's obviously better. And then these last two were both of these free?
Yes.
Okay. So you have echinacea and lobelia.
Yeah, it's a hummingbird flower.
Okay. Do we have hummingbirds around here?
Yes, we have hummingbirds around here.
Okay. So I didn't know we had hummingbirds around here.
I'm not sure what else it's good for, but I know it's a hummingbird flower.
Okay, so if we can get that to grow, maybe we can find some hummingbirds.
Every time you order some seeds from them, you get a choice of 3 seeds for free.
Okay. And so this is Mountain Rose herbs. All right, last up is going to be our marigold collection. We've just gotten these over time. Andrea likes marigolds, and the chickens really love marigolds. So, and aren't marigolds good for like pest repellent or something?
Yes, they're really good for companion plants in the garden as well.
Yeah, so there's going to be certain things that we're going to have in the rows, and we're going to be planting marigolds in between because they're good companion plants. And so that's it for the seeds. Now, what we don't have right now is we don't have tomatoes. We don't have
peppers, eggplants.
Yeah, peppers, eggplants. We didn't have the real ability to start those from seeds this year, so as soon as they become available from the nurseries, we're just going to grab some of those and just plant them. We've had bell peppers go fairly good. We actually had banana peppers last year that went fairly good too. And obviously the tomatoes did not do very good last year, but I think it's because they got drowned. But the year before we had them when we were at our apartment, and we had a pretty good haul of tomatoes. And then
4 plants, we had enough for like 4 people.
Yeah. And so then the other thing was eggplants. And so that was recommended to not start those in the ground. And so next year we should have the ability to be able to start those ourselves, so we can start those from seeds. And then there'll probably be other things. And then as soon as my aunt's garlic actually gets here, I'm going to do a garlic video.
Garlic and potatoes.
And the potatoes, because they'll both probably get here around the same time. So, but I do have a little sneak peek of the garlic, so let me go get those real quick. Okay, this is 100 elephant garlic corms, C-O-R-M-S. What these are little bulblets that produce on the outside of the elephant garlic. Well, what you can do is you can plant them. And so these have been, we got these, I think, in like middle of December, into December.
22nd.
Yeah, so it was right before Christmas. And garlic needs to be chilled. And so we didn't have the ability to plant these in the fall like we were supposed to. So it was recommended that you just stick them in the refrigerator to get the chill hours that you need. So these have been in the refrigerator since the end of December. They have a protective hard coating on them, and my aunt has a way, she figured out a fairly easy way to get the shells off. And so as soon as her main haul gets in here, then we'll be doing that, which basically involves soaking. And so she's going to be giving us a bunch of these. This is 100, I think. From the picture of what she gave me, hers is probably about maybe 3 or 4 times this amount. And then plus her regular bulbs. So we're going to end up potentially with like 3 rows of garlic. But the elephant garlic, if you can get it to its full glory, those could sell for $10 to $15 a pound. And each one of those bulbs can weigh as much as a pound. So if we can get the elephant garlic to grow, it can be a pretty decent crop. But that is it as far as we know. I'm sure we'll add and subtract stuff as time goes on. But this is going to be significantly more than we've ever planted in our entire life. At least up until this date. So that is it for our seeds and stuff for this year.